Thank you very much, the Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take our seats. Thank you very much. Now, honorable members, let me join the Right Honorable Raila Odinga and all the leaders who have spoken before me to welcome all of you to this very important first ever parliamentary group meeting that brings the two major coalitions together today here in Karen. Karibuni sana. The Right Honorable Raila Odinga has given us the context of why we are meeting here. I really would want to add not so much, because he has ably contextualized why we are meeting here today. That we have a nation to look after and we have a nation to protect, and there are options that are available to us, and I think we chose to protect the nation called Kenya by our coming together. And so I want to commend both the Right Honorable Raila Odinga and the ODM party, my former party, for standing up to be counted when the country needed leaders to stand up for Kenya. It may have been easy to do the opposite. It may have been popular to do the opposite. I know many people have vilified the Honorable Raila Odinga and the ODM party for the decision they took to stand for Kenya when there was need to do so. And let me say the following as the President of Kenya today. We have come from very far as a nation. We stand here today as a robust democracy, a nation that is making strides in our national development. And I want to speak to you candidly. I don't have a written statement because I really wanted to speak to you from my heart. Because where I stand today, I've had a political journey as a person. And by God's grace, I have come very far. You know, out of the 5 people who have become presidents in Kenya, I am one of them. I don't take it for granted, and I don't take it lightly that God has given me an opportunity to be one of the 5 Kenyans who have had the opportunity to lead this country. And I must say this to us as leaders, that a nation, the progress, the destiny of a nation is decided by leaders. As to whether we are going to be a progressive nation or we are going to be a failed state is going to be determined by leaders, by us, the people who are sitting here. And therefore, the place of leadership is almost sacred. Nobody becomes a leader by chance or by default or by mistake. Today, you are a member of parliament or a senator or a governor or the position I hold and all the other positions that we hold because God and destiny has given us that chance. And we must think about it deeply. And so I want to ask you as leaders, the Honorable Prime Minister has given us a history of countries. I will add to that list 2 countries. Singapore and Kenya were the same countries 60 years ago. Malaysia and Kenya were the same 60 years ago. But today, we play in different leagues. They have managed to progress to the first world. We are still where we are. The difference between what Singapore has become and what we are is leadership. And that is the place, ladies and gentlemen, we occupy today. So that you understand the importance, the sacred position you hold as a leader. Sometimes people want to ask, how do people who live in different houses, they have their own lives to pursue, but they wake up one morning on an election day and they go one after the other to 10,000, to 20,000, to 50,000 and elect you? You are not special. But it is a moment that God has given us as leaders. And therefore, we must do whatever we are doing, knowing very well that we have a heavy, almost sacred responsibility to the people we lead and to the nation of Kenya. And it is not that we don't know what we should be doing. We all know what we should be doing. It is not that we have shortage of ideas. It is not that we have shortage of what we need to do. In fact, I dare say we have some of the very best ideas. We have very good manifestos all the time. And in fact, if you look at, and I keep referring to this, if you look at the manifesto of Kenya Kwanza and the manifesto of Azimio, the difference is hardly 20-30%, 70%. We share what we think should be fixed in Kenya. But politics somehow has taken our country hostage, that we cannot do what we all know we should do. I have said that the difficulties that I face today as a president in Kenya are self-imposed. You know, I imposed on myself all these difficulties. Implementing the new funding model, implementing SHA, implementing housing, doing all those things. If I hadn't done any of those, I would be a very popular person, and but the country would not have moved anywhere. I am confident that if Raila had become president, he would be doing what I'm doing. Yes. He would be implementing SHA. He would be implementing housing. He would be doing reform in the education. He would be doing reform in agriculture. I know that for a fact because I have been in his school of leadership. That's the correct position. And he would be as unpopular or as he'd be having the same difficulties that I have today. But these are necessary for Kenya to change. Friends, we cannot change the country otherwise. And that is why he has the courage to stand here and tell you, let us stop the extortion. Yes. Very few leaders can stand here and tell you to stop the extortion that is going on in Parliament. I'm telling you the truth. Very few leaders. Because we like making peace with mediocrity. Oh, and they're trying to explain things that we shouldn't be explaining. Now let me ask you, friends, we are all friends here. Yeah, we are one team, or so I guess. This fellow who is called chairman of welfare in committees, what is their job? What is their job? Extortion, that's it. And that is what Prime Minister is saying. What is Sokohuru? What is Sokohuru? Tell me, what is, you know Sokohuru? So, let me tell you. No, you see, and this is the same problem that we face. This is the same problem that we face. Because, look, for example, we passed the law that we all know, friends, we all know the problems we go through with fundraisings for people who have hospital bills. All of us. In your phones, you have WhatsApp groups. So-and-so has this, this condition, so-and-so has this condition, contribute here. True or not true? Yes. But we don't want to fix it because it's difficult. But I must commend you. I must commend the members of National Assembly and Senate because you took the courage and passed the bills that today is beginning to solve the problem of health in Kenya. It may not happen instantly, but all of you can now see that there is a possibility that we can sort out the challenge of health and health delivery in Kenya. But because we had to be bold, we had to be bold and make the necessary decisions. Today, we are dealing with the crooked hospitals and health professionals who still want to steal from SHA and to steal from our health provision. And we will go after them and we will deal with them. So, what am I saying? I am saying the following. If we have to change Kenya, my friends, we have a historic opportunity today with this broad-based government, we have a historic opportunity to unleash the full potential of Kenya. We all believe, I do, that Kenya is a very great country, this country of ours. There is absolutely no reason why Kenya is not like Singapore. We have what it takes. Let me repeat. We have what it takes to measure up to the countries in the first world. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. But we are playing in the wrong league because leadership me and you are refusing to stand up to what this country needs. I really want to persuade you guys. I really want to persuade you friends. Yeah? This is not about William Ruto. I am here today, I will not be there tomorrow. This is not about Raila Odinga. Right? It's about the country called Kenya, where today we have the privilege to be the leaders, to be the decision makers, to decide which way Kenya. It is us who are seated here. It is us. And we have the historic opportunity to make this country what we have always wanted it to be, but it has not been. As I have said, the same way Raila Odinga can stand here and tell you we must stop the wrongs, I have also said that I am ready to pay whatever price to make this country change. Yes, we must change this nation, and we can do it. Look, housing was part of our conversation for the last 30 years. Yes, we've always talked about housing and how important it is and how it is going to create jobs, how it is going to stop land fragmentation, how it's going to allow us to produce, to save land that is meant for food, how we are going to have decent housing, how we are going to reduce on slums, how we are going to have decent livelihoods. We've always said that. The Right Honorable Raila Odinga tried with the first slum upgrading projects. We started there. The housing levy, go and read the Azimio Manifesto. Read the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. It is there. It is there in both manifestos. We now are seated here and we have the opportunity to implement what was in the Azimio Manifesto and what was in the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. Friends, why don't we just do it? Why don't we just do it? We will do it? Yes. Let us just hold it out and look. You can see for yourselves how transformational it is. Today, using the housing levy, we are not only doing housing, we are doing markets, we are doing hostels. And I promise you, what you see in Mukuru, what you see in Kisumu, because I have been there with Baba here, what you see in Eldoret, what you see in Nakuru, what you see in Kiambu here, what you see in almost every part of Kenya, is just housing implemented for 2 years. And you can already see the kind of impact it is having, the number of jobs it is creating, the way it is bringing change in our towns and cities. Friends, if we were to do this for 10 years, if we were to do this for 20 years, and this is a project that has been delayed, we are supposed to have done this 30 years ago. Tell me, if housing was implemented 30 years ago, how Kenya would be looking today. We wouldn't be different from Singapore. We may have started late, but we now have a chance to do it. I want to ask you, I want to request you for us to come together. And we are not coming together so that any one of us can get anything. We are coming together so that we can transform this country. And it is possible in our lifetime to change Kenya. In our lifetime. We now have maybe 320, 350,000 young people working in that space. We could double that to 700 in the next 2-3 months. We could scale up that to 1 million by next year. And we can energize the transformation of our country. That is why we are sitting here. That is why Baba and I have called this PG. Baba has told you we are here for Kenya. I am buttressing what we are saying, what he is saying, by telling you what we can achieve together. What we can do in our agricultural transformation. If it was not for the broad-based, for example, we wouldn't have had the kind of change that is required in our sugar sector. And I want to tell you, watch this space. In just 2 or maximum 3 years, Kenya will be a net exporter of sugar. Just 2 or 3 years. This country, which perennially we have been looking for safeguards from COMESA. Every year, we are looking for safeguards from COMESA. We are spending public money to go and pay for sugar, to go and pay for farmers, to go and pay for workers who don't work for government, just because we couldn't bite the bullet and tell the crooks there to get out. Now we have told them to leave. And I want to promise you, I want you to hold me to it. We are going to change the sugar sector. We are going to change the coffee sector. You have already seen what is going on in coffee. There is still a little bit of pushback, but we will deal with it. And on and on and on, and we can transform our whole agricultural sector. Just the little interventions that we have done standing together. You people in Parliament making sure that we are subsidizing production. And I must commend, Parliament has always provided money for us to support the production of the country, either through fertilizer or seeds or other interventions when we have brought it to Parliament. So you're part of the making of the history of our nation. Just imagine we have reduced the imports of maize, for example, by 70%. Reduce the imports of sugar by 70%. And we can make that progress if we are focused on where we want to go. And that is the reason why we have to make the decisions that we have made work. It is the reason why Baba and I have appointed Agnes Zani and her team, so that what brought us together, we don't forget. The 10-point agenda that we have signed buttresses what is actually in our manifestos. The NADCO report, we all know what it is supposed to achieve. And if we stand together, we can achieve all the legislation that is recommended by the NADCO report. Parliament has what it takes, to do this. For Kenya, we can do it. And I want to persuade this PG to work with us and for all of us to be committed to this exercise. Protecting devolution. There is need for us as a nation to distinguish between governance and devolution. The governor is not devolution. The governor is a person. Devolution is about the people. It is not about the governor. And we can deal with the governor without disrupting devolution, if there is need to. But what is sacrosanct, what is constitutional, is that we must get local people, development, to be at a local level as much as is practically possible. I agree with the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, because I was in Parliament when NGCDF was passed. And the principle was right, because there wasn't any meaningful resources getting to the grassroots. And the big push for devolution in the constitution-making process was three principles: making sure that resources get to the grassroots, making sure that there is representation at the grassroots, and making sure that accountability is also at the grassroots. So we need a conversation. You know, there are legitimate concerns on how resources are being spent at the counties. There is. We cannot also run away. There is legitimate concern. Let me ask, for example, the latest Sokohuru in the Senate. Because you have to accept, you know, by virtue of the position I hold today, I am a consumer of raw intelligence. I know what's going on. Where does somebody find 150 million? Where? Huh? Is that his money? That is money that belongs to the county. Is that correct or not correct? Yes. Let me ask you, members of parliament who are seated here. Do you, for example, know, do you, for example, know that a few members of your committee collected 10 million shillings so that you could pass that law on anti-money laundering? Did you get the money? No. So, going forward, si tunataka tukubaliane, si we are one team. Yes, there are people who are destroying the credibility of Parliament. And they are collecting money in the name of Parliament. And some of the time, or most of the time, that money never gets to Parliament, it gets to a few people. We are not going to shame them. We are going to arrest them. Yes. Do we agree? Do we agree? Yes. Whoever is giving and whoever is being given and whoever is doing whatever it is, we sort them out. Because the reality, friends, the reality is that there is a problem. And we all know here, tukitaka tukusema ukweli, there is a problem. And unless we sort it out, we are going to destroy our nation. We are going to destroy this nation unless we sort it out. And we must be as candid to ourselves here as we are candid in implementing what is transformational for Kenya. Tunaelewana? Now, let me say this. We must make sure that we get resources to the grassroots, but we also must make sure that the resources that get to the grassroots is used for the people, not other ways. And so we must do for the national government as well. In our 10-point agenda, we have discussed about the young people of our nation and how we need to protect their livelihoods. I want to ask the leadership seated here today, members, I want to persuade you. We have a robust program. We have, I think, close to 8 or 9 different programs targeting our young people. And how we can meaningfully engage them in employment and other interventions that benefit the young people of our nation. I will say this. We spend close to 650 billion shillings every year in education, making sure that our young people go through primary school, ECD, primary school, junior school, secondary school, TVETs, and universities. We must equally have clarity in how these 650 billion shillings we spend every year, at the end of the day, how do we recover that money? By making sure that our young people become a resource for the development of our nation instead of being a problem to our nation. We must do that. And there are 6, 7 interventions that have gone through Parliament. Housing is one of them. Export of labor is another one. Digital jobs, and every member of Parliament here, especially of the National Assembly, you have resources to do ICT hubs. I remember discussing with Sirma there, chairman of NGCDF. I remember discussing with Kiarie, the chairman of ICT. And if there are any issues that concern, sometimes maybe we have a problem with resources, Mbadi is here. He knows that if there are resources that needs to be made available, it's for us to provide interventions for young people to get an opportunity to work. You know very well that we can create hundreds of thousands of jobs in the digital space. You are aware of what we are doing in Nyota. You are aware of what we are doing in KJet. And if you don't, we should be able to explain to you so that you become part of the people, because you speak to hundreds of thousands of people every weekend, every day, as you go about your responsibilities, how they can tap into these opportunities and create livelihoods for the young people of our country so that they too can make a contribution towards making Kenya what we all want it to be. And I can continue, and I can continue on all the other aspects that we have worked on. We agreed that we must have a conversation on national debt because it has the potential to threaten our development. It is the reason why my good friend Mbadi and I have been in many different places, and we have done the most that we could to contain the issue of debt. We have gone out of our way to look for alternative sources of funding so that we don't always go to borrow. We have gone the route of securitization. We've gone the route of private-public partnerships. You know very well that we will be starting the construction of the road all the way to Mau Summit from here, Ironi. We are not going to be spending any debt money from government. The road is going to be built on private-public partnership. You know very well that we are going to begin the railway going all the way from Naivasha to Kisumu all the way to Malaba. We are not going to be spending money from debt like we did with the first section of the railway. We are going to be using public-private partnership to do that road. And many others that we have, we are thinking outside the box so that we can craft alternative mechanisms of delivering on public infrastructure or public goods without necessarily endangering the country with national debt. So we are working at it. It is part of the recommendation of the 10-point agenda that we must deal with. and we are seized with that matter. We will be giving, Mbadi and company will be giving a report to Zani's committee on what practical steps are we making to respond to the issues in the 10-point agenda. What are we doing about the young people? We will be able to tell Zani and the PG, and the PG should be there to monitor what we are doing so that we not only do it for us, but we also do it for the people that we represent. And finally, because I do not want to belabor the point, I said we have a historic opportunity. It is not always that protagonists come together to look at the greater interests of the country. But God has given us this opportunity. And I must commend Baba here, because very few leaders have the courage and the mettle to withstand criticism and stand for the nation. Very few people. Very few people. Many people look for what is convenient, what is popular, even if it is wrong, and they want to pander to it. But when a nation's destiny is at stake, you need statesmen, you need people who have the courage to put Kenya first and everything else secondary. So, what am I saying in conclusion? I am saying Zani and team have a job to do. They will be briefing Right Honorable Raila Odinga and myself on what needs to be done. We will be able then to guide what will be happening, what the executive need to do, what the legislature, the role the legislature need to play, and the role others may need to play. And as we do that, we will need another opportunity to be granular. Today was the first occasion for us to deal with this. But down the road, we need to bring the members of the executive, at least the ministers, to come so that we can have a meeting of minds between the executive and the legislature on matters that are of national importance. Further down the road, we may need that engagement. Maybe not in a sitting like this. Maybe we can organize a retreat for 2 or 3 days so that the questions I see members of parliament asking on some of the programs, we can fully understand the import of the programs we are running, what they are meant to achieve, the transformation that is supposed to happen, and how we position ourselves to make sure that we provide the push necessary for that transformation to happen. Again, focusing on the greater picture, the bigger picture of our nation. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you very much for coming for this session. I know we will listen to you by way of feedback on some of the things that you want us to